Welcome to rSlash Offmychest, where OP is able to finish just by kissing her boyfriend. Our next Reddit post is from Throw My Mouth. I'm an 18-year-old girl, and I recently got my first boyfriend who's 22, and we were hanging out at his place the other day. We started kissing, but for some reason, my mouth started to feel super tingly and weird. Not in a bad way, just intense. Then, out of nowhere, my whole body felt like it lit up, and I had what I can only describe as a full-body orgasm. Just from kissing, literally from my mouth. I got so overwhelmed and embarrassed that I left. Later, I told my friend about it because I was kind of freaking out, and she basically told me I'm a freak and that it's not normal. Now I feel even more embarrassed and kind of ashamed. I don't know why this happened. Like, why my mouth? And I don't know if anyone else has experienced anything like it, but I just needed to get this off my chest. I've personally never heard of this in real life before. However, there's a famous adult video from like the 80s, I can't think of the name, where the whole concept is there's a woman whose clitoris is in her throat. God, what is the name of that movie? Oh, right. It's called Deep Throat. It's super famous. You guys have probably heard of it before. I haven't watched it because it's, from like the 80s, kind of before my time, but apparently it's a classic. I wouldn't worry about it, OP. Tell your boyfriend he will be riding Cloud 9. Check me out, aren't I an alpha male, so sexy? Probably gonna brag to his friends, hey babe, are you okay if I post this on the internet? I want everyone to know how good of a kisser I am. My only advice to you, OP, would be don't kiss your grandma. Or your dad, for that matter, or your mom, or any other, family members. Probably not a good idea. Our next Reddit post is from Brick Squad. I broke up with my girlfriend last week, and I've been lying to everyone about why. The truth is, I won a pretty substantial amount of money about 8 months ago. $750,000 after taxes, since people were asking if it was a lucky bet on stake, and I kept it quiet. I only told my girlfriend. Almost overnight, she became a different person. Started planning these extravagant trips, talking about our future constantly, and pushing me to invest in her startup idea. She's never shown interest in entrepreneurship before. The final straw was finding texts to her friend about how she finally found her meal tickets, and how she was set for life now. When I confronted her, she cried and swore that I misunderstood. But I'd seen enough. Her mask slipped. Everyone thinks that we broke up because we grew apart or whatever. I don't have the energy to explain the truth and deal with all the questions. It hurts like hell knowing someone I trusted for 3 years was just waiting for a payday. Now I'm questioning every relationship in my life. Money really does show you who people are. I just wish I hadn't learned that lesson the hard way. The most disturbing thing to me here isn't the gold digger woman in this story. It's thinking that $750K is a set for life amount of money. If you have like a kind of decent income of $75K, that's just 10 years salary. It's a great head start to your life. You can buy a house and take some years off and go on some nice vacations. But it's not like they're gonna buy a yacht and retire to the Hamptons or whatever. Our next Reddit post is from Effective Bag. My sister died a year ago. Drunk driver, middle of the night, gone instantly. She was 24. Beautiful, kind, everyone loved her. The golden child, the angel. At the funeral, I gave a eulogy. People told me that it was moving. They hugged me, cried on me, said I was so strong, so brave. But here's the truth I can't say out loud. I don't miss her. I don't even feel sad. If anything, I feel free. My sister made my life hell. No one saw it. Not our parents, not our friends, not the teachers who adored her. She wore sweetness like armor, like a weapon. But behind closed doors, she made me feel like nothing. Picked me apart, made fun of my body, told me I was stupid, weird, and a burden. She once convinced me to tell her my biggest fear just so she could use it against me later in front of people I liked. She said I was too sensitive. She laughed when I cried, called me the backup kid, said if I died first, she'd wear red to my funeral because black's too boring. I tried to tell people once. They didn't believe me. said that she was just teasing, that she loved me, that I was imagining things. So I shut up. I let the lie live, let her be the saint, and now she's gone, and I pretend to be broken. I let people think I'm devastated, but the truth is, I sleep better, I breathe easier. There's a quiet in my life that I never had before, and I hate myself for feeling this way. But I don't wish she were still here, and I don't think I ever did. OP, don't beat yourself up. Being relieved that your abuser is no longer in your life doesn't make you a bad person. Our next Reddit post is from Tonight Lost. I'm a 27-year-old guy, and my parents never married. My paternal grandfather married my grandma after she got pregnant with his first son, my dad. And when the second baby came around, my grandpa found out that it wasn't his. But he couldn't divorce her because our family was extremely religious, but they're not anymore. And divorce would not be on the table for him, since it would mean all of his family would cut him off. And he stayed with her until she passed away. My dad saw how unhappy his father was, and how it affected his own life, and his half-sibling's life too. So he decided that he wouldn't marry until he had 2 kids of his own blood with his girlfriend. To be fair, he did talk with my mom about it, and initially she was okay with it, since she understood how it affected him. I honestly somehow do too, but it still seemed unfair to my mom. But as a kid, I didn't understand at the time, and as a teenager, I didn't feel in the right to butt in or say anything. Well, my parents had me and they were happy, but there were no marriage plans yet. But it was fine, they just needed to have another child. So they tried for years and years and years. And now, here we are. My dad's only son is almost in his 30s, and they're still not married. My mom had fertility issues, but she wasn't infertile, and they attempted to get pregnant for many years despite the difficulties, but they never could. My mom suggested to go for adoption, but that didn't align with my dad's self-imposed rule of having 2 biological children with his partner to marry, so he declined. They eventually stopped trying and seemed okay together, but my mom constantly asked to get married since they were together since high school. But my dad didn't want that because he wanted to marry after having 2 kids, which was now off the table, so eventually my mom gave up and stopped asking. With that said, there was never an issue out of that affected me directly until a few years ago. See, as I'm an only child, my parents kind of expected me to give them a grandchild. And when my parents, or should I say my dad, decided to stop trying for another baby, they agreed that they would marry when I have my own child. I didn't know this until 2 years ago, because a few years ago I came out as gay, and evidently I won't have any biological kids. So, unintentionally, I destroyed that last hope of them helping raising my child to finally get married. At this point, my mom doesn't even care about the marriage anymore. She's 58. And even before I revealed that I was gay, she didn't think that she would ever get married to my dad because of how much he seemed to have in his requirements to compromise. A few days ago, my parents, 2 of my aunts, my uncle, as in my dad's half-brother, and me were celebrating my mom's birthday, and she was having a nice time. She was smiling a lot, and we were giving her our gifts for her to open on the spot. When it was my dad's turn, which was one of the first gifts, she opened it and it was a small box. No, it wasn't a ring-sized box. It was like the size of a necklace box, so it wasn't that obvious at the moment. And then she opened it, and there was a piece of paper that said, "Would you marry me?" She turned to my dad, who was getting on one knee, taking an engagement ring out of his pocket, and waiting for my mom's response, who was looking at him with a strange look, and it almost made me laugh by how serious she was. She looked at him, then at my family, who were visibly more shocked than her. So apparently no one other than my dad knew about his proposal plans, and she just said, let's not spoil the moment right now. Let me open the rest of the gifts." My dad apparently was shocked by how indifferent my mom was and sat down without saying anything while my mom went back to cheerfully opening the rest of her gifts. And the rest of the family was also enthusiastic about it. Maybe a bit too excessively, but I guess it was to avoid thinking of the awkward moment that just happened. And after enjoying the meal, we all went to our homes. Well, that was 2 days ago, and today my dad asked if he could come to my home and I said yes. I thought he was going to vent about what happened at my mother's birthday, and I was totally right. He cried a bit, stating how he had planned to propose to my mom after thinking a lot about it, that he was now ready and that he wanted to spend the rest of his life with her, that he couldn't believe she humiliated him like that in front of the family. And the whole time I had to keep my straight face. But it was so difficult because of my dad's nonsense until he said that last phrase, and I couldn't hold back anymore and started laughing my butt off. Obviously, he got mad and asked me why I was making fun of him. I don't hate my dad, but I was a little too mean to him and said a lot of stuff I didn't say as a teenager, and even as an adult, because it wasn't my business how they handled their relationship. To summarize, I told him something like, I don't know what you expected after leaving my mom waiting almost 40 years for a proposal. You didn't need to wait for her to get pregnant again just because that old hag was a cheater. Or did you think that my mom was a cheater too? If she was a cheater, why'd you stay? If you knew she wasn't, what was the point of that stupid goal of having 2 children to prove that she wasn't having an affair? And I kept going off on him for like 40 minutes. He was so shocked that I raised my voice to him, since I've never done that to anyone. He stayed quiet during my whole rant, and when I finished, he just avoided looking at me and simply apologized. I gave him some coffee before he left so he would calm down and possibly talk to my mom. I think they'll get married, but I was so annoyed that he decided to do it at the worst moment in the worst place, and in front of everyone, and then complained that he felt humiliated as if my mom wasn't waiting for him for decades for him to not even consider marriage until they got old. Bruh, I just wanted to rant. Do me the honor of being my wife. I want to spend the rest of my life with you. Too late. We already spent 40 years together. Isn't that already spending our whole life together? OP didn't do ages, so they were together in high school. So that's, let's just say 17 probably. And if they were together 40 years, then that means they're 57, almost 60. They already effectively are married, just without the paperwork. OP, your dad is dumb. I'm on your side. He's a goofball. Someone should have given your dad this angry rant 30 years ago. How long does this guy have to hold on to this grudge for his mom? Think about it. I'm guessing most of you have literally been alive for a shorter period of time than these 2 people have been married. And he still doesn't trust her? Still? Damn, what's a girl gotta do? Our next Reddit post is from Capital Concern. My boyfriend and I were having a conversation about our families, and I mentioned how both of my parents worked full-time when I was a kid. He asked who took care of me and my brothers while they were working, and I told him that my uncle, who was 18 at the time, used to babysit us from when I was around 3 to 5 years old. I mentioned that when I was still potty training, I would sometimes need help wiping, and since my parents weren't home during the day, my uncle was the one responsible for that kind of caregiving. I remember this being more of a chore to my uncle, something he clearly didn't enjoy, and he was always trying to get me to learn how to do it myself as soon as possible. My uncle's always been like a second dad to me. He helped raise us, and I've never once felt unsafe or uncomfortable around him. But my boyfriend's reaction really caught me off guard. He looked horrified and said that it was super creepy and disturbing. He said that my parents were irresponsible for allowing that and that the whole thing was weird. Now, instead of letting it go, he's actually mad at me because I don't see anything wrong with it. He's trying to make me feel like I'm the weird one, like there's something wrong with me for not viewing that memory through a sexual or disturbing lens. It's like he's pushing this narrative that I should feel ashamed or grossed out. And the more I try to explain that it was just part of being a cared for child, the more upset he gets. Now I'm sitting here feeling confused and gross about something that, until now, just felt like a normal, innocent part of my upbringing. It really hurts that he took something so harmless and turned it into something gross. And now I feel like I did something wrong just for sharing it. Am I missing something? Am I wrong for not seeing this as a big deal? For context, OP is a 29-year-old woman and her boyfriend is 36. Then OP posted an update. The relationship is over. Not officially, he's giving me the silent treatment, but I've made up my mind. I brought this topic up again and expressed how uncomfortable his comments made me feel. He immediately got defensive and said that I don't see anything wrong with a child being left alone with anyone other than their mom or dad because my parents conditioned me to think this way even though it's wrong. He says it's not my fault, but I need to leave this mindset behind. According to him, if he had a daughter, he wouldn't trust her to be alone with any man because men are creeps. I'm over here explaining that my siblings and I were perfectly safe around my uncle, but his mind is stuck on how creepy this whole thing is. He said that my mentality is a red flag and that it made him question my judgment if we were to have kids together, which I got defensive about when he involved my brothers, saying it scares him to think that if we had a daughter, I'd be perfectly fine letting my brothers alone with her and that he wouldn't be okay with that. He's never met any of my brothers. I feel so uncomfortable to even write that. Eventually, I showed him this post and he flipped out on me after reading what everyone else was saying. He doubled down and said society just hates men and will always be on the women's side no matter what, saying, "Damned if I do, damned if I don't." I was trying to ask if this is just something that hits close to home for him, but at this point, he said that he's done discussing the topic with me since we have a different mindset, and how it's pointless trying to make me comprehend what the issue is. He says he needs time and wants to be alone. I'm tired. We've been together for over a year, and this has been our biggest fight. It all feels gross, and yet I'm the one feeling guilty and bad for him? I'm not saying I'm planning on continuing the relationship. I'm not. It's gone too far and it's weird now. Guys, what's weirder? An uncle changing a diaper when he doesn't even want to change the diaper because it's stinky and gross. Or leaving a 3-year-old to walk around in her own poop for like 8 hours until her parents come home. That was rSlash Off My Chest, and if you like this content, check out my podcast where I publish the exact same episodes. Also, hit that subscribe button because I put out new Reddit episodes every single day.